Hi, I'm Joy Van Staldynen again. This time I'd like to talk more about what the community and church as a whole can do to minister with people with disabilities um, rather than marginalizing them as has been done for so long. Um, I'd like to kind of start this time with a little picture clip I found on the internet, and I think Nancy, in writing her book, would have really supported this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little boy who gets around in a wheelchair, and he said, "Could you please shovel my ramp?" And the man shoveling the snow on the stairs says, "Well, all these others are waiting on the stairs, so I'm going to shovel the stairs and then I'll shovel the ramp for you." And the little boy says, "But if you shovel the ramp, we all can get in." I think that speaks volumes for our church. Uh, Obviously, this is a literal interpretation. What would be, yeah, let's help people get into our facilities, which for a lot of churches, that's a problem. Like, we don't have the appropriate ramps or elevators or even uh, aisles to get a wheelchair down. But what if we think about people with cognitive delays? What if I have a friend of mine who has a very cognitive delay, and she uses a communication board to communicate with me, but she has been literally kicked out of church before because she let out a squeal when it wasn't the right time. But she was worshiping just like everybody else was. And I think Nancy would have been really disappointed with what this church community did to my friend. So I kind of, in the last video, in speaking about what individuals can do, I got a little bit into what our churches as a whole can do, in the idea of, like what I said a little bit before, with we have a social mission given to us by God, who is our ultimate loyalty, and that is to love others and to bring them towards the Lord. We have that. Everyone in this class has that. Individuals with disabilities have that same call from God. So we need to let them have that chance. As a church, we need to give them opportunities to serve. We need to give them the chance to be ordained. We need to give them the chance to serve communion. We need to give them all of those opportunities just like you and I have. A little bit further into Nancy's book, The Disabled God, in chapter 4, she talks about carnal sin. So kind of where this thing got started was about physical disability in Christian history. There's a lot of disabling theologies that we'll see where sin is kind of symbolized by people with disabilities. She says on page 72, related to the sin disability conflation is the theme that physical disability is a travesty of the divine image and an inherent desecration of all things holy. So it gives Christians the idea that they need to do these charitable givings rather than allowing people to serve. And it gives people without disabilities the image that it is just that. It's just a charity rather than a relationship with these individuals. One of my favorite quotes in her book is a little bit later on 75, and she says, "In order for the Christian church to stop doing harm and energize their efforts to be a body of justice, critical and careful attention must be given to a theology of disability as an established feature of the systematic theological enterprise." And that was a mouthful. Sorry. So we need to stop. We need to just be very intentional and very conscious as a church and as a faith community to what we're doing and how we're systematically aligning all of these, the miracles that Jesus did. They are absolutely miracles. And I can believe that my God can do those literal things, but there's also a metaphor behind it. And I think we need to focus on the metaphor and not necessarily on that the person had a disability and was then cured. Another thing important from that chapter is when Nancy talks about an American tragedy in the Lutheran Church, and I briefly said this in the last video, but they adopted a resolution in 1980 that was going to kind of revitalize the church concerning persons with disabilities. And 5 years later, they barred these people with significant, and they said, handicaps from ordained ministry. And it seems to be marginalization that was the cause. And unfortunately, they discussed the topic rather than the people. And people are what's important, because people make up the church. So she says on 81, unity is, of course, a worthwhile goal, but a unity that silences the call of marginalized people for justice is not true unity. So unless we start making these changes as a faith community and we include persons with disabilities in these things, we're not really doing what Christ has called us to do, and we're not really focused on what's best for all believers in all faith communities. So I hope that helps. I'm way over my time, and I hope that you will take time to read this book because I'm pretty passionate about it, and I think it's wonderful. Thank you.